My name is Bob Birgeneau. I'm a proud graduate of St. Michael's College School, 1959, and I went on from there to being an undergraduate at the University of Toronto, graduate school at Yale, teaching at Yale briefly, and then have gone on to a series of other positions, including major leadership positions. I've lived an extraordinarily privileged life. This life would not have been possible without St. Michael's College School, and I'm sort of deeply grateful to St. Michael's College School, to the priests at the school, and all the people who helped make my life possible. I still have many friends left over from St. Michael's College School, although we're all getting a little bit older these days, and again, I treasure all of those relationships. That after all of these years, that I've received this extraordinary honor known as the Order of St. Michael's, along with 3 other absolutely stellar gentlemen. When I was in 10th grade, then peculiarly, we didn't take any science, but we took Greek and Latin. And the Greek and Latin teacher was a wonderful man by the name of Father Tony Kelly. And he and I bonded immediately. And he was in some ways like a father figure for me. I had an English teacher in grade 11 whose name was Father Ware, which interestingly was also my wife's surname. But so Father Ware was the English teacher, and he did an extraordinary thing. So in the summer after my junior year, Father Ware called me into the high school. So I went back to the high school during the summer, and he wanted to know what I was doing. Well, I was working in a factory, and he then asked me, okay, so how do you like it? I said, well, one thing about working in the factory as a summer job, I knew that's not what I was going to do for the rest of my life. And then the only person in my extended family was an uncle who was an accountant, and so he actually was a professional. So I said, well, I'm good at math, so I think I'm going to be an accountant. And Father Ware said, an astounding thing, he said, you know, if that's the direction you go in, you're going to end up being bored. You have to raise your level of ambition, and specifically, you need to go to university. That was the first time anyone ever said to me that maybe I should go to university. Then another teacher was Father Eggsgard, who was a brilliant math and science teacher, and he again offered us tremendous guidance, and was very much a father figure to us. Now it appears as if I'm going to have to support the family, so I can't go to university after all of this. He'd heard it, and he said, tell me what's going on. So I explained the situation, and I said, I feel really badly about this. And so he said to me, we, that being St. Michael's College School, have invested too much in you for you not to fulfill your promise. So we're going to simply support your family for the next 4 years. I said, like, what? Right? And he said, yes, we're going to support your family for the next 4 years, which was an astounding offer. So my mother happened to be actually in St. Michael's Hospital. And the very next day I went to St. Michael's Hospital, went to the psychiatric ward, explained what had just happened. It was so uplifting for her that it broke her out of her depression. She got up out of bed, went back to work, and started working again, and I went to the University of Toronto, and here I am. I think really just as a very happy period in my life, had the benefit of great teachers, and made this cultural transition from someone who was supposed to be a dropout to someone, who was headed off to a very fulfilling life. St. Michael's College School opened doors for me. When I came to Yale as a graduate student, then, without giving the whole story, ended up becoming actively involved in the civil rights movement in the United States. I was just, as a Canadian, couldn't imagine the situation for black people in the United States at that time. That was in the 60s. So I was actively involved in that. There's a famous summer in the civil rights movement in the summer of 1965 when Martin Luther King, was there, the March on Selma, etc., right? So I was there for a good part of that summer teaching at an otherwise all-black college. And that, turned out to be a very formative experience for me. And I came to understand just racial politics, as opposed to, mostly I knew about being a low-income person and maybe some religious discrimination against Catholics, like in Toronto. But it's critically important that institutions understand that they're not just for the privileged, they're for everyone. And for people from highly disadvantaged backgrounds, you have to put in an extra effort. And it's not just financial. One of the important things, people talk just about finances. It's certainly in my case, growing up in Toronto, as a Catholic with a mixed Irish and Métis background, that it's cultural also. St. Michael's College School basically made the very privileged life I've been able to lead possible. I have always felt throughout my life as being privileged to be part of the Catholic community. And one thing that's not properly appreciated, well, let me say, I remember when I was actually staying with my mother-in-law, who spent all of her adult life and on in Toronto as part of the Irish Catholic community. And I was staying with her when I got the telephone call from the University of Toronto, head of the search committee, offering me the presidency. And she was sort of by the phone, and she was very interested to know what they were saying. And I said, well, they just offered me the presidency. And she said, I never thought in my lifetime that they would offer the president of the University of Toronto to a Catholic, right? And someone who came through the Catholic school system. She didn't say that, but that was implicit. I was aware of that, but hadn't understood how profoundly important that was. So I guess that's another thing I'm very proud of having done. That I was the first Catholic to be president, not just of the University of Toronto, but of any major Canadian university. Everything I said about my appreciation of the high school and that we remember what our values can and should be, and that we work hard towards them. It means being kind to other people, doing what you can to enable other people to fulfill their promise, and also giving other people the space and the means to be, what they're capable of being.